Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling, well, a real heavyweight. Richard Dawkins, The Selfish Gene. Published back in '76, right?
That's right, 1976, and it really shook things up. It gave us this whole new way, a new language almost, to think about evolution.
Yeah, definitely. So, if you've ever wondered about behavior cooperation, competition, even why we might help someone at our own cost, this book offers a pretty bold framework.
It does, a very analytical one, sometimes controversial, for sure, but undeniably powerful. It really changed the conversation in biology and even beyond.
So what we want to do today is synthesize the big ideas, really get into this gene-centered view, as it's called.
Exactly. We'll look at how that works and then trace how those ideas jump from, genetics into culture itself.
Right, because that's a key part of it, too. We'll explore how this focus on the replicator, the gene, kind of challenges our ideas about free will, even morality.
So our mission, basically, is to pull out the core concepts. The gene-centric idea, how it explains altruism, which seems like a paradox, and then that really groundbreaking idea of cultural replication. Memes.
Which is still so relevant today, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive in. The gene-centered view. Before Dawkins, evolutionary thinking often focused on the group, right?
Yeah.
Or the individual.
Yeah. Typically, survival of the fittest meant the fittest individual, or sometimes people talked about things being good for the species.
But Dawkins flipped that script entirely. In his view, what's the real star of the evolutionary show? What's actually being selected?
It's the genes. Not the species, not the group, not even really the individual organism in the long run.
Just the genes.
Just the genes. They are the fundamental units of selection, the things that actually replicate and persist over evolutionary time.
So the gene is the replicator. The thing gets copied. What does that make us, then? The organisms.
We are. Well, his term was unforgettable. Survival machines.
Survival machines, wow.
Yeah. Every living thing, bacteria, plants, animals, us, essentially these complex, temporary vehicles, robots almost.
Built by genes.
Built by genes for the sole biological purpose of protecting those genes and, crucially, making more copies of them. Our bodies, our brains, our behaviors.
All tools.
Sophisticated tools, exactly. Designed through natural selection to get those genes into the next generation.
That term survival machine, it's so stark. It suggests everything we identify with our consciousness, our feelings, our bodies is just sort of disposable packaging.
It is a stark image, and deliberately so. The idea is the information, the genetic code is potentially immortal, passed down through generations. The body, the machine, is temporary. It's built, it serves its purpose, and then it decays.
Like the hardware's temporary, but the software keeps getting copied.
That's a great analogy. The genes are the software, endlessly copied and updated, and the organism is the hardware, the latest model built by that software to ensure it keeps running. That's the radical shift.
Okay, now let's talk about the title. The Selfish Gene. That word selfish caused a lot of trouble, didn't it? It sounds like genes have bad intentions.
Oh, absolutely. It's probably the most misunderstood part of the whole book. Selfish here doesn't mean malicious or cruel or consciously plotting.
It's not psychological selfishness.
Not at all. It's a metaphor, a shorthand for how genes behave from a strategic, almost mathematical perspective. A gene is selfish if its effects tend to increase its own chances of being replicated, often at the expense of rival versions, alleles at the same spot on the chromosome.
So it just means it acts in a way that promotes its own copying.
Precisely. There's no motive, no morality. It's just about what works to get passed on. This explains why competition, dominance, things like that are so common in nature. Genes that promote those strategies often out-replicate those that don't in certain contexts.
But back in the '70s, and even now, people heard selfish gene and immediately thought it was justifying, human greed or some kind of social Darwinism.
Right, that was a major misreading. Dawkins has spent decades clarifying this. The genes operate based on blind statistical outcomes. They aren't trying to be selfish, they just are, in the sense that successful ones are the ones that manage to propagate themselves better than others.
It's about replication success, not ethical scorekeeping.
Exactly. Success is just measured by frequency in the gene pool. It's an amoral process.
Okay, but if the driving force is this selfish replication logic, how do you explain altruism? Self-sacrifice. That seems like the complete opposite.
Ah, yes, the paradox of altruism. This is actually where the gene-centered view becomes incredibly powerful, even elegant.
How so?
Because what looks like self-sacrifice at the individual level can often be a winning strategy from the gene's perspective. The key concept here is kin selection.
Kin selection. Okay, unpack that.
It's basically about shared genes. A gene doesn't care about the survival of any particular body it happens to be in. It cares about copies of itself surviving and replicating wherever they might be.
So, in relatives.
Exactly. You share, on average, 50% of your genes with a sibling, 50% with a parent or child, 12.5% with a first cousin, and so on. So a gene that influences you to help a relative, even at some cost to yourself.
Might actually increase its own overall chances of being passed on.
Precisely. If the benefit to the relative multiplied by the probability that they carry the same gene is greater than the cost to you, the selfish gene for helping kin can spread through the population. It's like a cost-benefit analysis performed by natural selection.
The famous biologist W.D. Hamilton formalized this, right?
Yes, Hamilton's rule. It provides the mathematical basis for it. So if I risk my life to save, say, 3 of my brothers.
Each sharing 50% of your genes.
Right. From the perspective of my genes, saving 3 copies at 50% each, that's 150% worth of my genes, might be a better bet than just saving my own single copy, 100%.
So the individual organism might lose out, but the genes for that kin altruism behavior actually win.
Exactly. The genes thrive because they're preserved in the relatives who survive, thanks to that behavior.
The classic example is the bee, isn't it? The sterile worker bee stinging an intruder.
Perfect example. The worker bee dies, obviously a huge cost to the individual, but she's sterile anyway.
You can't pass on her genes directly.
Right. But the queen and her other sisters in the hive, who she's defending, are very closely related to her, often more closely than human siblings, due to the peculiarities of bee genetics. So by sacrificing herself, the genes that contribute to that defensive behavior are actually being protected and propagated very effectively through the fertile relatives.
It's like biological accounting, maximizing the gene's return on investment.
That's a good way to put it. It's all about maximizing the survival odds of the replicator itself, the gene.
Okay, that's a really powerful explanation for biological behavior. But the book famously didn't stop there. Dawkins took this replication idea and applied it somewhere completely different.
He did. He made this incredible leap from biology into the realm of culture, and that's where he coined the term meme.
Meme, which we now associate with internet jokes, but he meant something much broader.
Much broader, yes. He needed a concept for a unit of cultural transmission, something that could spread and evolve in human society, much like genes do in biology. Because culture clearly evolves, but way too fast for genetic change to explain it all.
So what is a meme in this original Dawkins sense?
It's a unit of cultural information that spreads from brain to brain. It could be an idea, a tune, a fashion, a catchphrase, a technique for making something, a religious belief, anything.
Anything that gets copied from one person to another.
Yes, and these memes, he argued, have properties similar to genes. They replicate fidelity, they spread widely, fecundity, and some stick around for a long time, longevity.
And they compete, presumably.
They absolutely compete. They compete for our attention, for space in our memory, for bandwidth in our communication channels, just like genes compete for slots on chromosomes.
So the success of a meme isn't tied to biological survival necessarily.
Not directly. A meme succeeds if it's good at getting itself copied, regardless of whether it helps or harms the biological survival machine carrying it. Think of catchy but annoying jingles or dangerous viral challenges. They spread because they are effective replicators in the cultural environment.
That framework,
Yeah.
it gives us a way to analyze culture almost like an ecosystem.
Exactly. It was a revolutionary idea, applying evolutionary thinking to culture itself. And it's incredibly relevant for understanding how ideas spread today, especially online.
Right. Let's connect that to the modern world. We see memes in the internet sense now, but also broader ideas spreading incredibly fast. And sometimes they seem to have built-in instructions to help them spread.
Yes, the analogy holds up remarkably well. Just like a gene might build a physical trait, like bright feathers, to enhance its replication via attracting mates.
A cultural unit, like a video or an article, might include features designed purely to enhance its own transmission.
Precisely. Think about the ubiquitous call to action at the end of so many online videos. Like, share, and subscribe.
That's not part of the actual content, usually. It's an instruction.
It's an explicit replication instruction. It's a behavioral prompt designed solely to increase the memes, the video's content, the channel's ideas. Fecundity, its spread.
So that phrase, like, share, subscribe, is itself a successful meme, a meta meme almost.
You could call it that. It's a piece of cultural programming that piggybacks on other content to ensure that content gets copied and transmitted more effectively in the digital ecosystem.
It's the cultural equivalent of a gene, building a mechanism to ensure its vehicle reproduces.
Exactly. It shows the replication logic at work, optimizing for spread within its specific environment, whether that's a gene pool or the internet.
Okay, this brings us to the really big, maybe unsettling question. If we're survival machines shaped by these selfish genes, and now we're also bombarded by these replicating memes, how much room is left for free will?
Yeah.
Are we just puppets of our programming, biological and cultural?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's the philosophical core of the debate the book sparked. But Dawkins, importantly, doesn't land on strict determinism.
He doesn't say we're doomed to follow our genes.
No. In fact, the very end of the book takes a fascinating turn. It's almost a call to arms.
A call to rebellion, I've heard it described as.
That's a good word for it. He acknowledges that yes, we are built as gene machines, and yes, we can be influenced by memes, but uniquely humans possess consciousness and foresight.
We can think about our programming.
We can understand it. We have this capacity for reflection that, as far as we know, no other survival machine has. We can learn about our genetic predispositions. We can analyze the cultural memes we encounter.
And we can choose to act differently.
We can choose to override the dictates of both. We can practice genuine, disinterested altruism towards strangers, something kin selection doesn't easily explain. We can reject harmful traditions or ideologies, even if they were powerful memes.
So our ability to understand the selfish nature of the replicators is actually what gives us the power to defy them.
That's the crucial point. We are the only creatures on Earth, Dawkins argues, capable of rebelling against the tyranny of the selfish replicators. Our consciousness allows us to potentially break free.
And that's really why the selfish gene remains so important, isn't it? It doesn't just explain biology. It forces us to confront these deeper questions about ourselves.
Absolutely. It provides this powerful analytical lens to look at life, at behavior, at culture. It challenges you, the listener, to think about morality, cooperation, free will, all in the context of this underlying evolutionary logic.
It's provocative, definitely. It changed how a lot of people see the world.
It really did. It bridged biology, philosophy, culture in a way few books had before. Even if you disagree with parts of it, you have to engage with the ideas. It fundamentally alters your perspective.
So this deep dive really shows how evolution isn't just about fossils and anatomy. It's this incredibly complex, multi-layered process playing out in our genes, our behavior, and even our ideas.
The book gives you the tools to see those layers, to analyze the forces shaping us, whether it's an ancient genetic drive influencing who we find attractive or a modern internet meme demanding we share it.
Right. We've established that we as humans seem to have this capacity to choose, to resist both the genetic and the cultural scripts. Let's maybe end with a thought based on that.
Okay.
We talked about those cultural replicators, the memes, like the simple instruction to like and share. If these things spread like genes, competing for our attention and influencing our actions, maybe think about the ideas you hold most strongly.
Yeah.
Are they ideas you've consciously chosen, examined, and decided to propagate? Or are they perhaps memes you've absorbed and are now replicating almost automatically, without really questioning them, just serving the meme's desire to spread?
That's a challenging thought. Are we consciously curating the ideas we spread or just acting as transmission vectors?
Exactly. That difference between conscious choice and automatic replication, that's definitely something to mull over.